All right, let's dive into one of the most talked about books on self improvement, James Clear's Atomic Habits. There's a simple truth at its core. You don't actually rise to the level of your goals. Instead, you fall to the level of your systems. So if you've ever tried to make a big change and just couldn't make it stick, well, this explainer is going to show you why your whole approach might have been backward. Let's get right into it. So, what if I told you that you could be 37 times better at something just 1 year from now? I mean, that sounds completely impossible, right? But this number, this 37, it reveals the absolute secret of atomic habits. See, that's what happens when you get just 1% better every single day. It's not about some huge overnight transformation. It's all about the incredible, mind-blowing power of these tiny compounding gains. And this graph shows you exactly what that looks like. You see that upward curve? That's the magic of that 1% daily improvement. It starts off slow, you barely notice it, and then it just explodes into this incredible growth. But look at that other curve. That's the warning sign. Getting just 1% worse each day doesn't mean you just tread water. Nope, it means you're on a path that slowly but surely spirals all the way down to zero. This isn't just a cool idea, it's the actual math of our daily choices. And that really brings us to the foundation of the whole book, the 1% rule. It's this simple, powerful idea that all those tiny little changes, the ones we usually just dismiss as not mattering, are actually the very things that create those big, life-changing results. Let's dig into what that really means. So, why call it atomic? Well, an atomic habit is a really small change that's also a fundamental building block of a much larger system. You can think of them just like atoms. They're these tiny, essential components that, when you put them together, build remarkable things. They might seem small, but man, are they powerful. James Clear just nails it with this quote. We all do this, right? We convince ourselves that massive success needs some huge, dramatic, earth-shattering action. But that's just a myth. The real value, the real progress, is in the small, consistent improvements we make every day. The ones that are so easy to overlook in the moment. This explains why we give up so often. Think about an ice cube sitting in a really cold room. You start to raise the temperature, it hits 28 degrees, 29, 30, 31, and nothing. It looks like absolutely nothing is happening. Then, at 32 degrees, it finally starts to melt. That breakthrough wasn't sudden. It was the result of all that energy that came before it. And our habits work the exact same way. Your effort isn't wasted on this plateau of latent potential. It's just being stored up for that big breakthrough. Okay, so if these small habits are the key, how in the world do we build them? Well, this leads us to a really major mental shift, something that's totally central to the book's entire philosophy, and it requires us to completely rethink how we approach self-improvement. This right here, this might be one of the most powerful lines in the entire book. Look, goals are great for setting a direction, for knowing where you want to go, but it's your systems, those processes you follow day in and day out, that actually determine your progress. Winners and losers often have the exact same goals. What separates them is their systems. So what's the real difference here? A goal is the result you want. It's winning the championship or finally writing that book. A system, on the other hand, is the process that gets you those results. It's your team's daily practice routine or your weekly writing schedule. The goal is the finish line, but the system is the race you're running every single day. And focusing only on goals has some serious flaws. First off, just look at this picture of a messy room. Tidying it up is a temporary fix, right? It's a goal. But if the underlying messy habits don't change, it's just going to get messy again. Second, goals can trap our happiness. We tell ourselves, I'll be happy after I achieve this thing. And finally, what happens when you actually cross the finish line? Without a system to keep you going, that motivation just vanishes. So if systems are the answer, how do we build good ones? To do that, we need to understand the science behind how our habits actually work. And it all boils down to a simple 4-step feedback loop in our brains that pretty much runs our lives. And here it is. Cue, craving, response, and reward. It's that simple. The cue triggers your brain to initiate a behavior. The craving gives you the motivation to act. The response is the actual habit itself. And finally, the reward satisfies that craving and teaches your brain, hey, let's do that again next time. This 4-step pattern is the backbone of every single habit you have, good or bad. We can actually make this even simpler. You can split this loop into 2 main phases. The cue and the craving, that's the problem phase. That's when your brain notices that something needs to change.
And then the response and the reward, that's the solution phase. That's when you take action to get what you want. Every single behavior we have is driven by this desire to solve a problem.
All right, now we get to the really practical, good stuff. Based on that four-step loop, Clear gives us this incredibly simple framework for engineering our own habits. This is the actionable toolkit you can start using today to take control of your behavior. This framework is really the practical heart of the whole book. To build a good habit, you just follow 4 laws. Make the cue obvious. Make the craving attractive. Make the action easy. And make the reward satisfying. So, say you want to read more? Just leave a book on your pillow. That's making it obvious. And if you want to break a bad habit, you just invert these laws. Make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. And here's a brilliant, super simple tool for making a new habit obvious. It's called habit stacking. The formula is as easy as it gets. After I do my current habit, I will do my new habit. So, for example, after I pour my morning cup of coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. See what you're doing? You're linking your new desired habit to a behavior that's already completely automatic. But all of these laws and systems and tools, they all lead to the most profound idea in the entire book. You see, lasting change isn't just about what you do, it's about who you become. And this, right here, is the real key to making good habits stick for good. Imagine change like the layers of an onion. That outer layer is changing your outcomes. That's the results, like losing weight. The middle layer is changing your process. That's your systems, like your workout routine. But the deepest layer, the very core of the onion, is changing your identity, your fundamental beliefs about who you are as a person. And this is the secret. Most of us try to change from the outside in. We focus on what we want to achieve. But the most effective, most powerful approach is to start from the inside out. Don't aim to just run a marathon. Aim to become a runner. Don't aim to write a book. Aim to become a writer. You focus on the identity you want to have, and your behaviors will naturally start to align with it. This reframe is just so powerful. Your habits aren't just these random isolated actions. They are evidence. Every single time you go to the gym, you are casting a vote for I'm a healthy person. Every time you sit down and write 1 page, you're casting a vote for I am a writer. These small habits are what provide the proof that builds your new identity. And really, that's what this all boils down to. It's not about finding some perfect life hack or suddenly discovering superhuman willpower. It's about the small, tiny votes you cast for yourself, day in and day out. So the question I want to leave you with is this. With the actions you're taking today, who are you voting to become?